It's great to be back with you for another adventure into the unknown. So get comfortable, grab your favorite snack or drink, and let's embark on a journey together. I've got a captivating story in store for you that's bound to keep you on the edge of your seat. Are you ready? Let's jump right in.
So I've been working at the same hospital for years now, as a nurse in the ER. I've seen a lot of things, all kinds of horrific stuff, blood and gore, and just about every household item you can think of inserted into some guy's rectum. I've seen limbs ripped off, intestines coming out. Almost 10 years working in an ER, and you're going to see a lot. You're going to be hard to shake. But last night, something happened. Some girls came in, and I've never been scared like this. I've never had that feeling of, I have no idea what's going on with this patient the way I have with these 3 girls. It was a sad, fucked up story to begin with. One of those men who gets off kidnapping girls and keeping them prisoner in his basement or his garden shed, real sicko. But those poor 3 girls were found and rescued and brought right to us. Now my hospital isn't that big. There's about 5 of us who have been trained to take a rape kit, and there were 2 of us on duty for that last night. Me and this new nurse named Emily. She's been with us maybe about 6 months. We're both paged to a set of examination rooms that were made up special for such a horrific occasion. Put aside so they're a little more private. They're subtly different. The assault rooms are a little less sterile, a little more comfortable, with a few extra chairs for the cops to sit in while they interview the victim. I expected reporters and wackos to be everywhere. But by the time the girls were brought into the exam rooms, it was all just whispers and gossip. Those poor girls, pulled out of some pervert's garage. Most poor girls. They can't even talk. Who knows if they're even from here? Maybe they're international sex slaves, one of the other nurses suggested to me as I passed by her on my way to do my first exam. After examining them one by one, I've made the following observations. None of them seem capable of speech or making any noise, making communication with simple gestures. But I don't even know if any of them are literate. They all have the same eyes. I don't mean the same color. I mean, looking them in the eyes, you get the feeling you're looking at the same person you just saw in the last room. They're blue with flecks of gray, and I swear that all of them have the same exact patterns of fleck. They all have an identical bump on their back, between their shoulder blades, that, in my professional medical opinion, is weird as hell. It could be some kind of congenital condition, or birth defect, or repetitive strain injury, for example, if they've been forced to balance something on their shoulder blades, or to hold a certain position for long periods of time. They're all losing hair at an alarming rate, merely laying back to allow me to do a pelvic exam, more on that later, made each of them lose handfuls of hair on the bed. Could be from malnutrition, vitamin D deficiencies, or so I thought, until their blood work came back. They're in perfect health, have not been drugged, are not dehydrated or malnourished, even though they have the paleness and pallor of women who have been kept hidden for years. None of them have the corresponding vitamin deficiencies or health problems. It seems impossible to me that any of these women were held hostage for any length of time. They're probably healthier than I am, and I've had access to health care and the ability to go outside a dank little garage. This is where it gets weird. They have no visible genitalia. That's right, that's what I said. Each time I went to perform a pelvic exam, I saw the same thing. Nothing. No vaginas, no labia, nothing. And, might I add, no anus. They look like Barbie dolls, except Barbie dolls might be a little more detailed. Emily and I met up in the middle of the rooms and took a little break in a supply closet to frantically whisper about these women and what we're supposed to do. What are they? And what do they look like? What about their digestive systems? Were all perfectly valid things that the young, inexperienced nurse asked me that I, the old pro, was supposed to be able to answer. But I was even more lost than she was. What I want to know, I said, is what that pervert was keeping them for. I couldn't help but voice the thing that had been bothering me. Had he done this to them? Some kind of sick experiments and cosmetic surgery? Was it some kind of human centipede attempt that we thankfully interrupted in time? Should we get someone from gastroenterology up here? Emily asked. What if they've sewed up their digestive systems? But that wasn't right, though. There was no scar tissue, no sign of recent operation. If they've been like that any longer than a day or two, there would have been plenty of evidence in their blood of the toxins building up in their bodies. Nothing made sense. Now, I told her, I'm going to try to communicate with them one more time before we decide on a course of action. I left Emily amid the blankets and towels, folded and stacked helpfully on shelves, and went back toward the assault suite. I passed at least 5 police officers on the way. Did they know? That couldn't help but wonder. Did they know that these weren't normal victims? I knocked quietly before letting myself into one of the rooms, and I heard someone stop talking just as I entered. The girl was still sitting on the bed, black hair longer than I remembered it being, with vaguely Asian features. Her eyes were bluer than I remembered. My name is Claire, I told her. I'm the nurse who examined you. Do you understand English? I asked, and my only response was a slow nod of her head. Can you speak? I asked. She neither shook her head nor nodded, just stared at me with those blue eyes, swirling with flecks of gray. Where are you from? I asked her again, but only got the same response. How old are you? Again, nothing. You have some physical abnormalities. Have you ever been seen by a doctor? I asked her. No response, but the way she looked at me seemed to change somehow. I sensed a flicker of hostility, anger, maybe resentment. It was not a professional question to ask, but my mouth formed the words before I could stop myself. Are you a human being? The girl's mouth dropped almost too far open, and no sound came from her, but from all around us, there was a screaming erupting from all sides. There was a commotion in the hall as the police officers ran to the other victims, the ones screaming now for no reason other than the question. The only one of them that was still silent. The next 30 minutes or so after that was a blur, but I know that I got up and I left the hospital immediately. I don't even think I clocked out. I didn't even grab my bag, didn't give a damn about my post, shift cigarette. I'm probably fired now, but I can't go back there. It's still not on the news. I don't know if they ever will be. I don't know if the cops know what they're dealing with, but I'm sure not going to be the one who tells them. I can't stop thinking about it, though. What are they? And what if they weren't the victims?
Or suffer the same fate as those who came before you? I turned and ran, the sound of my footsteps echoing through the empty corridors as I fled for my life. Behind me, I could hear the faint sound of laughter, cruel and mocking, echoing through the darkness. I never returned to that hospital again.
Fluorescent lights flickered ominously as I made my way through the dimly lit corridors of the hospital's forensic department. It was past midnight, and the usual hustle and bustle of the daytime had long been replaced by an eerie silence. I shivered involuntarily, feeling the weight of the building's history pressing down on me like a suffocating blanket. As a forensic technician, I was no stranger to death. I had seen my fair share of grisly crime scenes and mangled bodies, but nothing could have prepared me for what I was about to encounter that fateful night. I reached the morgue, the cold metal door looming before me like a portal to the underworld. With trembling hands, I pushed it open and stepped inside, the chill of the room seeping into my bones. Rows of stainless steel tables lined the walls, each one adorned with a body bag waiting to be examined. I went about my routine, methodically unzipping each bag and inspecting its contents. But as the night wore on, I couldn't shake the feeling that something was terribly wrong. There was an air of malevolence in the room, a sense that I was being watched by unseen eyes. And then I found it. Tucked away in the corner of the morgue, hidden beneath a blood-stained sheet, was a body unlike any I had ever seen before. Its skin was as pale as marble, stretched tight over protruding bones like a macabre puppet. Its eyes were sunken and lifeless, staring blankly into the abyss. I approached cautiously, my heart pounding in my chest like a drumbeat of dread. As I reached out to pull back the sheet, a chill wind swept through the room, causing the lights to flicker and dim. What I saw next would haunt me for the rest of my days. The body beneath the sheet was not human. It was a grotesque mockery of life, a twisted amalgamation of flesh and bone that defied all reason and logic. Its limbs were contorted at unnatural angles, its mouth frozen in a silent scream of agony. I stumbled back in horror, bile rising in my throat as the stench of decay filled the air. This was no ordinary corpse. This was something far more sinister, something beyond the realm of comprehension. But before I could flee the room, I heard a voice whispering in the darkness, a raspy hiss that sent shivers down my spine. "Leave now," it said, its words dripping with malice. "Or suffer the same fate as those who came before you." I turned and ran, the sound of my footsteps echoing through the empty corridors as I fled for my life. Behind me, I could hear the faint sound of laughter, cruel and mocking, echoing through the darkness. I never returned to that hospital again, but the memory of that night haunts me still. And I can't help but wonder what other horrors lie hidden within the depths of the forensic department, waiting to be unleashed upon the world.
Thanks for joining me on this thrilling ride, folks. Your support means the world to me. Don't forget to hit that subscribe button and give this video a like if you enjoyed it. It really helps me out a ton. Now, before we part ways, I'd love to hear from you. Which part of tonight's story had you gripping the edge of your seat? Let me know in the comments below. And hey, if you have any ideas or requests for future stories, drop them down there too. Until next time, stay curious, stay brave, and keep exploring the unknown. See you in the next video.